Hey there! This is Oleksiyenko here again, and in today's video we're gonna discuss another brilliancy played by Alphazero, but this time from the first match, which was played in 2017. Some people may argue that Stockfish wasn't adjusted well, wasn't played its best, but we are not looking to how the engines work. We're looking for improvement for ourselves, and I find this game extraordinarily instructive from initiative, middle game, and frankly opening point of view. So let's take a look at this game. d4, knight f6, knight f3, e6, c4, where it grabs the center, b6, g3. If you have noticed from previous videos and games, Alphazero loves to fianchetto the bishop, and it figured it out on its own, so you may note it. Bishop e7, bishop g2, bishop b7, castle, castle. This is a well-known theoretical position. d5, pawn sacrifice. So Alphazero is sacrificing the pawn for initiative. It's still a well-known position. E takes d5, knight h4, typical pin, c6, winning the pawn, cd, knight d5. What did white get as a compensation for a pawn? White gets a much better bishop. That guy on b7 is just sad. White gets a possibility to grab some center with e4 and activity of pieces, thus knight f5. Knight c7, e4. The main move here is d5 for black, which was tried in another Alphazero Stockfish game that I may show in the future. This time Stockfish decided to go bishop f6. This is a well-known theoretical position. As you can see, I opened the online database. There are plenty of games with white play and black players going for this game, for this position, but d5 was still the main move. But in all the games it was played either knight c3 or rook e1, which both make sense. Alphazero aims for knight d6. What I love about this move is that, well, almost nobody played it. You can see only several players with not very high rating played this one. What's the idea of knight d6? First of all, it comes with the tempo, and secondly, it interferes with black possibility to go d5. On any other move, like for example knight c3, d5 would lead to a transposition to d5 move earlier. Alphazero prevents it from the beginning. Bishop a6, rook e1. Rook was hanging. Knight e8. And now, starting from here, I carefully checked all the game till maybe not the very end, but till the decisive advantage for Alphazero. I noticed that in some completely winning decisive positions, I find it hard to explain its decisions. Well, the point is the position is winning and maybe it doesn't matter. So, but let's see how it gets to a winning position. Stockfish is of a good opinion of black's position here. I'm not going to use engine here. You can just trust it that Stockfish 8 was playing on a strong computer. So it was choosing the best moves. And if I recall correctly, it was preferring black here. So every single move until white gets winning position, I'm going to explain to you. If you can see the text here, but if you feel like guessing the moves, go ahead. This is a really good learning way to guess moves from GM games. Well, in this case from Alphazero, because guessing moves by engines is usually ridiculous, but Alphazero plays superhuman chess that we all can understand. E5 move comes with a tempo. Opens the bishop and opens the rook. Knight takes d6, e takes f6. So what did Alphazero do just now? Sacrificed yet another pawn. For what? The same reason, for initiative and getting two bishop advantage. You'll see when Alphazero gets rid of two bishops later in the game just for the decisive advantage. Now white has two bishops, black has really weak dark squares, this, and really hard time finishing the development on the queen side. So this is the compensation. Basically, the compensation is time and active pieces. So you have to be playing very quickly. Knight c3, developing the knight. Bishop to c4. h4, I love this move. Alphazero in many pawn structures chooses to go h4 with two threats. One of them usually involves a g5 square. In this case, bishop would come to g5, and that would be like really difficult to handle for black. Then bishop can come to e7 and black will just collapse. So basically h4 is a forcing move. It's not a developing move, but it creates an immediate threat of winning material. Bishop g5, queen would have to go to f5. No, knight d6 is hanging, so g6, and then bishop goes to e7. So Stockfish has to play h6, so I didn't really lose time. It's just going h4. Alphazero thinks that this is better for white. Now b3 comes with a tempo. Queen takes f3. Now Stockfish is piece and 2 pawns up. Rook is hanging. Bishop f4, of course, clearly seen by Alphazero in advance. Forcing move, developing the bishop. Knight has to go to a ridiculous square on b7, and now pawn takes c4. Alphazero is sacrificing the third pawn, but Stockfish in this case is not capturing it. That would be way too dangerous, I believe. So it just retreats the queen. I'm not going to focus on Stockfish's move. We're here to learn how to play open dynamic chess based on Alphazero. With every single move, white would either improve its position or handle black's threat. That's it. No moves like king h2 or whatsoever. Every single move has a purpose. Bishop to e4. What is the purpose of this move? The bishop is being transferred to a better diagonal. There's not much going on here. So the bishop, from this point of view, it would be aimed towards the king as well as the queen side, improving the bishop. Knight goes to a6. Bishop goes to e5. Nice little tactics, improving the bishop. The bishop, again, has not much to do here or there, so Alphazero decides to aim both of the bishops towards the king. And the reason is very simple. The knights are too far away from the king. It's just the queen standing there. Black position can collapse anytime soon. Queen goes to e6. And now bishop goes to d3. Another forcing move. Opening the rook. Okay, for the record, queen takes e5, bishop h7, check, king h7, rook e5, unless you haven't seen it yourself. So queen e6, bishop goes to d3, immediate threat of bishop takes g7. So it's either a forcing move, like in this case, or a move that improves the position. f6, bishop is hanging, bishop comes to d4 with a tempo, queen goes to f7. Now there's no threats. Which piece do we improve? We need to improve the rook and the queen. What I love about Alphazero, it just sacrifices material for long-term initiative and compensation, which was unthinkable until it appeared, because engines would always say, no, this is not fast enough, etc., etc., even though this is very human. So white is just claiming, I have two bishops in an open position, your knights are weird, your king is weak, your square, this diagonal is weak, I control the open file, I have initiative. I don't care about two extra pawns. There's no passed pawn or anything, and I have my bishops. So queen goes to g4, significantly improving the queen. It aims towards the king, and now bishop g6 would be in the air, or queen f5. So knight rook f to d8. Looks weird, but that was probably the only way to handle queen coming here, and the pawn was loose because of bishop g6 was coming. So Alphazero is improving the next piece. What is the worst placed piece at the moment? The rook on a1. Right? It's just standing there. Where do we want it to be? Well, maybe you would automatically go rook a d1, but there's not much happening on the d file. Not much. Bishops are in the way. Knight will appear on c5 for sure, so pawn on d7 would be protected. No, we aim for the only open file. So rook to e3 with idea rook to e1. Every single move improving the position. Knight c5, bishop g6 with a tempo. Queen to f8. The reason queen takes c4 is bad. I'm not using engine at the moment. What can we do? Probably something like rook e7 would be decisive. And pawn on g7 would collapse. Yeah, this looks completely lost for black. That is why queen to f8. And now rook a to d1. I told about the e file, but now it chooses the d file. I wonder what has changed. I don't know. Rook a to b8. Looks weird, but probably black had no other good moves. King g2. I love this move for the following reason. White's pieces are almost fully working to the fullest. White controls the e8 square. White controls this file. The bishop is amazing. This bishop is amazing. What do we do next? You'll see in a second. But king g2, now once all of the pieces are working to the fullest and black has no threats whatsoever, no active ideas, king g2 is a useful move. Just going away from that diagonal, improving the king. Knight goes to e6, bishop to c3. We should cherish two bishops in an open position. You'll see a moment where Alphazero gives up the bishop. Only very late when it's already you can see the result. Keeps the bishops. Bishop c3, knight bc5. Now rook d to e1. Doubling the rooks. Alphazero decides there's not much to do on the d file anymore. Knight to a4. We still want to keep the bishops, but bishop this time goes to d2 because there's bishop takes h6 would be hanging in the air now once the queen was being misplaced on f8. So king h8 immediately Stockfishes, realizes the threat, and now Alphazero decides to push some pawns. By the way, if you see that all of your pieces are working to the fullest and yet you cannot create any threats, usually it means it's time to push some pawns. In this case, white could aim for g4, g5, which looks very difficult to execute, but f4 followed by f5, white would penetrate to e7, and black's king may collapse very soon. Queen goes to d6 with a tempo, so bishop is hanging, so it moves away to c1. Knight jumps to d4. Now it's white's turn to improve the position. Rook goes to e7. That was the whole point of going f4. f5, well, apparently now that the square on g7 would collapse anytime soon. For example, white's next move could be like bishop e8 or something. And who's going to defend the pawn on g7? I don't see no candidates. And rook g7 is also always in the air. So f5, like, gives up the pawn just to save his king. Now white gives up the bishop, winning the pawn, but keeping the initiative. White is only one pawn down now, but you can see how amazingly active those pieces are. We just need this bishop on long diagonal and black would collapse. Luckily for black, there's still knight on a4, but g7 pawn is still under pressure. Queen f7 is coming. How do black handle that? It's rook to f8. Well, now we can take another pawn. Rook takes d7, rook takes f5, and rook takes d6. So what has changed? White won back the two pawns, kept an important bishop, just for the price of one bishop, won back two pawns, and still is attacking. White controls two open files. This is weird, this is weird, this is weird, this is hanging. Rook to f7. Probably going c5 would be a disaster, like rook e7, with complete penetration into black's position. So rook f7, and Alphazero not even capturing the c6 pawn. Wow, interesting. But still, well, I would probably take that pawn. But maybe it didn't want to give up the open file. Maybe that was the reason. Giving tiny bit of initiative for black. Maybe that was the reason. Alphazero saying, I'm dominating the place, your rooks are awful, your knight is awful, I don't need your pawn. You cannot move your knight because bishop goes to b2. Well, you can, but that wouldn't be the best idea. So you have no good ideas, I'm just going to push my pawns. I'm just going to improve my position little by little. King g8, g5, h takes g, h takes g. White gets more space and trying to get to the king and put the pawn to g6. Knight to c5, slightly improving the king, still not taking that pawn. Unbelievable. Knight to b7, rook to d1. I love this move. Still not capturing that pawn because in this case, well, it wouldn't win material, I suppose. Knight a5 and take. So rook comes back to d1. White is still controlling two open files. Now it's time to improve the bishop. Knight to a5, pawn is hanging, rook e4, c5, bishop b2, improving the bishop, knight to c6, g6, getting more space with the tempo. Rook moves, what do we do, what do we do? Well, slightly improving the king. The rooks are perfect. The bishop is perfect. What do we do? Improve the king and push some pawns. Knight to d4. And now some of the decisions I have like an only joking explanation of the reasons played, of the moves played in the future. Now white is winning. White can just take that. No. Maybe it's not that simple. Yeah, it is the back rank problem. So here Alphazero plays rook d2. The only reason I can think of why not capture, it's that if bishop takes d, because it captures on the very next move, so I cannot really understand. It may have been the rook d7 may have been the issue, and bishop cannot move. No, bishop can move, bishop e5. So this is ridiculous. Yeah, you can just take. So, and then the rook d8 is just back rank problem. So it could have taken, yet it plays rook d2 move, and after rook f8 now takes. So I have no explanation for this one. I have no explanation. The only explanation I can think of, Alphazero, is if we can assign human emotions to artificial intelligence. I can only say that Alphazero says, I can even do this weird move and there's nothing you can do about it. You'll see another move like that right now. Rook to c8, king g5. So white is completely dominating. Now white is one pawn up, still having two rooks controlling the open files. F pawn would push and the rooks would penetrate to back rank or 7th rank. White is just winning here. Rook f8, and now rook to d2. Again, I cannot explain this move. Is rook going to h-file? I don't think so. It's more like Alphazero's making fun of Stockfish. That's like the only explanation I can think of. There were plenty of other more active moves. Rook to d5, yes, like this one, rook to c7, and now f5, improving the position, rook to b7, and now the following move is just, I can understand if a human being makes a move like that. The moves that you can try to guess, you don't see the text. What would you play in this position? Well, which move would you play? A few seconds, what would you do? Well, I myself would maybe try to double the rooks and penetrate to 7th or 8th rank. I would maybe consider going a4, a5. Alphazero did play a4, a5, but first it played a3. It makes no sense whatsoever. It's except like white is 100% white would win, so it doesn't matter what white would do. So a3 feels like a joke to me. Okay, a4, rook d4. Rook e5. Also, I don't understand this one. Rook d4, rook e5. What difference does it make? None whatsoever. So it's like probably Alphazero doesn't want to finish the game and wants to enjoy the position. That's the only reasonable explanation I can think of. Okay, now a5, takes. Rook d6. And yeah. And rook e6 also. What kind of a move is that? Just take the pawn on c5. So I cannot explain Alphazero's moves when it comes to converting completely winning advantage. But of course, white is just crushing. The g pawn would promote. So most of the learning you can do is the opening in the well-known position. Knight goes to d6 instead of knight c3. d5 is an improvement for black, but there are games where Alphazero beats Stockfish anyway. And after that, every single move had its purpose. Improving the position with every move. Either a forcing move or dealing with a threat, keeping the important bishops, or improving the position little by little until black collapses. Amazing masterpiece. Either positional or dynamic, you can call it whatever you wish. I love this kind of chess. 2 pawns for initiative and just playing as if nothing is happening. I love this game. I hope you enjoyed it too. Take care. Subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell. Tell your friends. Mikhail Oleksiyenko here. Take care and goodbye.